Oh, hi, I'm Amy Griffiths, and I'm a journalist in the Manx Radio newsroom. And I'm talking about cystic fibrosis because there's been growing concern among sufferers in the UK about potential changes to access to a life-changing drug. Called Kaftrio, it can significantly reduce the effects of the condition and even significantly extend their life expectancy. But NICE has recommended that NHS England stop giving Kaftrio to new patients as it's too expensive. It currently costs between £100,000 and £160,000 per year per patient. Leanne Harper, who lives on the island and takes Kaftrio, says it's made a massive difference to her quality of life.
Cystic fibrosis is an inherited disease which causes mucus build-up in your system, your lungs, which causes infection, and it also affects your digestive system as well. So I have to have tablets to help me digest my food and things like that. So the mucus basically damages a lot of your insides. I was diagnosed when I was 9 months old, and from then on in I've had hospital stays, IV treatment to remove the infection from my lungs all the time, nebulizers and physios on a daily basis to keep the mucus loose from my lungs and things like that. Medication to be able to digest my food. So every time I eat, I have to have tablets. I have to be on antibiotics every single day. My body doesn't absorb like normal people, so I have to have extra vitamins and things like that, along with the food side of things. So obviously our body doesn't absorb and digest like normal people. So we have to have a much higher calorie diet. So we're always trying to get more food in because we don't digest it as well as other people. So we don't keep the weight on. And then off the back of that, with us being lower in weight, the infections are harder to fight.
How many people here on the Isle of Man have CF?
So there's approximately 10 of us on the island. I think I'm the oldest, or definitely one of the oldest. I'd say about just over half are on Kaftrio at the moment. And then I'm sure the others are coming through of age ready to go on to it as well. So
for the last 2 years, you've been taking this drug called Kaftrio. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so Kaftrio is a medication that was brought in a couple of years ago, which has been trialling for years. And basically it replaces the gene that we were missing. So it helps us be able to absorb a lot better. It almost gives us more of a salt intake, which stops the mucus from sticking to our lungs as much, so which then means less infections and things like that, which in turn means that we're not in hospital 2 to 3 times a year. We're not having IV treatment at home all the time. And yeah, life's completely different.
You say life is completely different. Just how much is it impacting your life being able to take this drug?
Oh, hugely, really. On an exercise point of view, I never used to be able to swim. I couldn't run because I was just having coughing fits all the time. Whereas within a month of taking the medication, I found that I could run more than a couple of minutes at a time without having coughing fits. I can now swim, right up into, I've even competed in my first triathlon after it. But also in life, you don't have a burden. I've not had to have a hospital stay for a long time now since I've started Kaftrio. And it just makes my life completely different. I've decided to travel to Australia. I'd never been able to go far distant, especially for a long period of time, because I'd always have to be close to home for hospitals and things like that. Whereas now it's I might be able to go away for 4 weeks travelling now. And, it just really opens up. Or I know some of my friends have been able to have children now because they can now conceive better because of this medication. So it's a huge, huge impact on our life. And it's not... CF is obviously still there. I still have to take my medication. I still can't digest my food on my own. I still have to take my diabetic medication, which is... I have diabetes off the back of cystic fibrosis. But it's not that life-threatening. Life looks a lot longer, shall we say, than what I should have had.
To the point that we were talking before we started recording, and you were saying you were actually even thinking about getting a pension, which is something that you never would have considered before.
Yeah, being in and out of hospital all the time, we were really ill, and actually it only makes me think now how well I am now compared to how ill I was before I had the medication. And that future, I've got to think, maybe I might last to 60 or, it's in reach now. Whereas before, pension, I won't make that age type thing. I might not need it. Whereas now I'm thinking, oh, gosh, I better start thinking about possibly being that elderly person maybe.
And for you mentally, just what kind of impact does that have?
Yeah, well, it takes its toll going in and out of hospital all the time. Some of my friends, are on oxygen and things like that. And when I was on IVs all the time, it was every couple of months or 3 months that I knew I'd have to be going into hospital. So it's almost like you work your whole life around, oh, I need a hospital stay there, or I could feel my health dropping off so rapidly that, oh, I need to go into hospital again. Whereas now I could really just plan like a normal person, really, and, oh, I'll go here, I'll go there with my friends and this, that and the other. Whereas before it was very much like, oh, I'll probably be in hospital then, or I'm not well enough to go on that and things like that. Whereas we've just got more freedom now and we're so much healthier. We still have to work hard at staying healthy, and I'm saying I've not had IVs for a couple of months, which is intravenous, is antibiotics. But it doesn't mean that never will happen. Obviously we still get infections and things like that, maybe a bit more than what other people would as well. But it's not so daunting anymore.
It's been reported in the UK media recently that NICE has recommended that the NHS no longer provides Kaftrio because it's just too expensive. How do you respond to that news?
Yeah, it's scary. Just the thought of the fact that, goodness, if they turned around and said, oh, from next month you won't have your medication, my life would literally go downwards so rapidly. And to think younger children, if they get the medication early, like I've got lots of I've got 36 years of scarring on my lungs and things like that after infection and all the hospital stays and antibiotics and things like that I've had in my past. Whereas if we get the younger children on it early, they won't even have that scar and damage. So their life would literally be almost normal. So it's a massive impact. I know they have said in the news that people that are on it now can stay on it, but they are trying to fight to drive the price down, I believe. So I'm just hoping that the social media uproar that's gone on at the moment is going to help the drug companies really have a good think about the lives that affecting all us CFers and youngsters coming through.
If it wasn't provided on the NHS, is it something that could potentially be funded privately, or is that just not feasible?
Well, per year, they're looking at the costing of this medication between £100,000 and £160,000, which is massive, don't get me wrong. So how many people can you go to and say, oh, on the top of this, and it's not just, oh, it's 160 grand for the rest of your life. No, it's 160 grand a year. There's not many people that are going to be able to stump up the money to pay that privately every single year. I know I certainly can't. So, yeah, that is, if it stops, then it's massive deal, massive. We're hoping that the Isle of Man might have their own decision for us CFers on the Isle of Man, and they not necessarily follow the UK, but 9 times out of 10 they will follow what the UK do as well, but we can only just hope.
So what's going to happen here on the Isle of Man? In a statement, Manx Care has told Manx Radio that Kaftrio is currently commissioned by the Department of Health and Social Care, while Manx Care funds and provides the drug for children aged 6 and over in line with NHS England. If Kaftrio was decommissioned, it would be the decision of DHSC, although the department currently has no plans to review or withdraw funding here. It adds there's no legal obligation for the DHSC to automatically follow a UK policy decision on treatments. However, if it is reviewed and removed by NHS England, then we may decide to undertake our own review. So a sigh of relief for those living with cystic fibrosis here for the foreseeable future, although a change in policy further down the line hasn't been ruled out.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.